Sony will be announcing the A7C II and the Sony A7CR, a high megapixel version of the A7C, and they're going to be doing it along with a lens at the end of the month. But is this information more accurate than the recent Nikon ZF rumors that we were supposed to get the Nikon ZF, a retro-looking cool camera, sometime this week? Well, stick around after this short break for all the details. But first, please do me a favor. Follow me on X, formerly known as Twitter, but most importantly, please subscribe to this channel. It doesn't cost you anything. It really helps this channel grow and get noticed, and it keeps you up to date on the latest camera gear, news, and rumors. Sony Alpha Rumors is very sure. They're so sure that Sony's going to be announcing two cameras on August the 29th. The Sony A7C II and the Sony A7CR, along with the 16 to 35mm GM2. And in case you haven't been following the latest information regarding the two successors, not one but two successors to the Sony A7C, well, we are getting two of them. Now the A7C II is going to be, I guess, a low resolution version, but it's still going to get a bump up over the existing A7C to around 33 megapixels, according to the latest rumors. But that A7CR, it's supposed to get a 61 megapixel sensor. At this point, I'm not sure if Sony's going to take the exact same sensor from the A7R5 and put it to this camera, if they're going to do something else. But essentially, it's a high megapixel version, a high resolution version of the A7C II. The only question is, where could Sony potentially cripple this camera? Because according to Sony Alpha Rumors in previous posts, these cameras are supposed to cost somewhere around $2,000. $2,000 for a camera that can deliver 61 megapixels? That certainly would be shocking. I mean, the price of the Sony A7R5, well, it's, you know the price, right? $38.99, $39.99. It's a $4,000 camera, and it has a BSI sensor, 61 megapixels. So to see that same sensor go into this camera, it's certainly plausible they could do that. Sony started this with, well, they didn't start it with the A7S III, but you can see what they did with the A7S III. They've taken all the capabilities from that camera, and we've seen it come into cameras that are, well, basically less than half the price, such as the Sony FX30, a video-centric version of the A7S III. So how likely are we supposed to be getting these two cameras and a lens? Well, according to Sony Alpha Rumors, they are not 100% sure, but 95% sure that we're getting the A7C II and the A7CR, the high megapixel version, or the high resolution version, 5% less, so 90% sure on that one. And the 16 to 35mm GM2, well, it's got an 85% probability that it's going to happen on the same day as well. So not 100% sure. I'm really curious to know what Sony Alpha Rumors is using to come up with these numbers. Do they have some sort of complex cube formula in Excel where they're extracting all this information, pulling it from many different sources, running it through ChatGPT, and coming up with these percentages? Or is it kind of a best guess from the gut, rule of thumb kind of thing, which, if you've been in the industry for a long time like Andrea has, well, that's just as good to me. So 95%, 90%, and 85% sure on August the 29th. The only thing we don't have at this point is any really sort of concrete specifications. What I gave you based on the sensor, that's pretty much it. Everything else at this point I would consider to be conjecture. The date, even at this point, we don't know if it's going to be August the 29th at 10 o'clock in the morning Eastern Standard Time, or if it's going to be 10 o'clock in the morning Japanese local time. We don't know if it's going to be on the 29th in Japan or the 23rd here, or vice versa. I sometimes get a little bit confused with that international date line. So what we're looking forward to is getting the exact date and time. Hopefully, it's still a little bit early to get an official event scheduled on YouTube, but I am expecting that, and I'm also expecting leaked photos and leaked specifications. And as you can see down below here, I already have smart pre-order links. So why do I have them when Sony hasn't even made the announcement yet? They haven't even scheduled an event? Well, you see, we're expecting multiple different versions of this camera, so at least two versions. And that's not to say that we don't have kit versions of either of these or both of these. And then if you're buying at Adorama or B&H, these guys right here, who's to say they don't offer other kit packages with camera bags, memory cards, and other things. And what these links will do, I recommend copying these and putting them in your browser, because as soon as the embargo is lifted, these links are going to show every single kit package, every single option available, all in one spot, saving you the time so that way you can pre-order before anybody else. But what I'm looking forward to on August the 29th is, once we have a date available, I'm going to schedule a live event, and I'm going to cover the camera 1 hour before the announcement. We'll do the announcement live, and then hopefully have somebody with a camera in hand that can answer our questions. I've been doing this for the past few years, or the past year, covering the Nikon Z8, the Canon EOS R6 Mark II, the Panasonic S5 Mark II, and I think this is a great way to sort of get ready for the announcement. We talk about what we expect, the final leaked specifications, leaked photos, for an hour before the announcement. Then we get to see the announcement. We know everything that's real. We've got that pre-order to go, and then we start talking about what we think of this camera. The A7C was a very popular camera, still is today, and I think depending on how Sony puts together these cameras in the kit form, the high resolution version, and of course the A7C II, they could have another pair of hits on their hand. No one's saying that Sony doesn't have enough cameras on the market. No one's saying that where's this, where's that. Well, okay, there was a little bit of that with the A6XXX, but Sony is putting out an awful lot of cameras. They've got a lot of lenses, and for a lot of people, having that deep lens inventory is a really big deal. So I'll be covering off the event. I'll put out a scheduled event as soon as I know when it is, and regardless of time of day, whether it's midnight my time, whether it's 5 o'clock in the morning, whether it's 10 o'clock in the morning, I'll have that out there, and I'll be covering this for you. So if you want to stay up to date on all the latest news and rumors, specifically the A7C II, the A7CR, then go ahead and subscribe, but make sure you also choose all notifications. And for all those minor news stories that aren't quite big enough to have their own separate video, well, I tweet those out on X, formerly known as Twitter, right here. And quite often there's also really good pricing deals on. Day of the deal at Adorama, B&H, or Canon announces a discount on the R5, and I tweet those out, sometimes as many as 7 a day when things are going really busy. So if you want to stay up to date on all the latest news and rumors, major or minor, subscribe to me on YouTube and also Twitter. And whenever I put out a video, I'd say 98% of the time, I also tweet it out. But that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching. Have yourself a great week. And if I don't hear from you before the weekend, have yourself a great weekend. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you again soon.